Get the tab and watch ad-free at patreon.com/pedalsteel.
Hey, welcome back, gang. Today we're finishing up with our speed progressions. This is 106, string 6 and 4 with B and C pedals. After we learn this one, we're going to start learning connections. We're going to do major connections, minor pentatonic, Mooney style, and then that'll really help us learn how to start combining these different progressions into really cool solos. So before we get too far ahead with ourselves, let's go ahead and learn this last one. So let's revisit the chords of the scale. In the pedals up position, working our way up the neck in the key of G, we've got the 1 G, B and C makes the 2 minor, A minor, go up a fret for B minor, the 3, pedals up, C is the 4, pedals up D is the 5, B and C is the 6, E minor. Then we've got the F sharp diminished, which is the 13th fret with the E lever, and then pedals up again. So the nice thing about running it in dyads is that we can use B and C pedals instead of the F lever for the diminished. Right? If we just pick 6 and 4, just drop down a fret and press B and C. So same notes. So that's going to save us a lot of time. Even though we're using B and C, right? It's still a diminished chord. It's not a minor, right? Right? Not the same. So that's just something we need to know moving forward. So all we're doing is changing that chords of the scale into a harmonized scale with 6 and 4. And then we're turning it into a speed progression with our pickin, like we've done before. So as usual, just middle thumb, pedal in on B and C, middle thumb and slide, middle thumb, slide, release pedals, middle thumb, slide, middle thumb, pedal, middle thumb, slide, middle thumb, slide and release pedals, and string 4 again. Metronome. 1, 2, ready, go. All right, very simple. Just essentially a harmonized scale with the pickin. So like we usually do, let's check out our chromatic positions. So we've got pedals up, then we've got 2 B and C positions. Whoops. So we can hit the chromatic at 4. Then our next 2 positions are pedals up, so we can hit the chromatic at 9. Then our next 2 are B and C again, so we can hit the chromatic at 11, and pedals up. Hit it with the metronome. Ready, go. Cool. Nothing too crazy there either. So now we're going to run it in a progression, and we're going to keep it simple with the 1-4-5. We're just going to use a little bit of the harmonized scale though. So we're just going to use the first 3 degrees. So Do, Re, Mi. And we'll use the chromatic position. And then we'll do it in C, then in D, and back to the pedals up. And it's worth noting that the first position, right, that's Do and Mi to make a G chord. In this third position, we've got Mi and So. So even though there's no G note, it's still a G chord if we want it to be. So that's just something that we'll reference later on. And then we need to connect them. So after we run the first one, it's nice that the C position is the next position anyway, so that's kind of the same. right? Pick and slide. And run the chromatic positions for C. And for D, we're going to pick and release, and then go right back into it. And then pick and slide. All right, so just a nice little 1-4-5. Hit it with the metronome. Ready, go. Cool. So there's an example of, like we talked about, we always want to be able to control where we are with the speed progression, right? We don't always want to run from a G to a G. So being able to take it from a G to a C, right? And we wouldn't have to continue on 6 and 4. This would be a place where we could cross over into something else, right? Or run it to the D. So start thinking about ways that you can enter and exit and running them back and forth, right? So with this next one, number 4, we're running a little intro into the progression. We're starting in the pedals down G position, and we're just going to do a little pedal rock thing. So pick 5, pedal in, 4, back to 5, rock off, down to 6 with B, and then up to 4. And it's important we get those notes on 6 and 4 with thumb and middle. Because now we're going to pick 6 and release B. Right? And now we're into the progression. But we're going to run it descending. So middle, thumb and slide, middle, thumb, slide and pedal in, middle, thumb, slide, middle, thumb and release, and middle. Let's hit it with the metronome. Ready, go. Cool. So again, you could start working on changing that one. You could add more to it. Or maybe run it back to the C again, right? Hit the chromatic position. Right? Maybe drop into the G and start running another progression. Right? You remember, who can tell me bonus points to name this, which number this speed progression is? All right, so let's move on with number 5. So number 5, we're doing a little pickup. And then we're running speed progression 104, right? 5 and 6 with B only. And I'm not going to spend too much time explaining that because you should already know that one. So the main thing here, I like to pick index, cross thumb up, cross thumb down, index thumb, cross down, index, cross thumb up, and now I've got thumb and middle on 6 and 5. All right, run the speed prog 104. Then 5, 6. This is just a little connector. Rock on. All right, grab 4. Index on 5 now, because we just reached up and grabbed 4 with middle. then 6 with B with thumb, middle again, thumb and release pedals, and now we're into the progression of 106. And this time we're going to run it ascending, so now we're in D, right? So we're going to hit our chromatic positions on the D and move into the G. And then chromatically walk up to the 15th fret, right? And like we talked about, that's a G position if we want it to be, right? All right, let's hit it with the metronome, nice and slow. 1, 2, ready, set, go. So there's a good example of how you could fit speed progression 106 in a solo, ways of connecting it to another. If I didn't mention before, all of these progressions that we just did today, we can repeat on strings 3 and 4. Right? Because 6 and 3 are the same note. Similar to what we did with 101, right, which was strings 3 and 5, pedals down, and then 102, which was 6 and 5, pedals down, right? So same thing with 106. The difference is on strings 3 and 4, the root's on the bottom, on string 4. And with the one we just did with 6 and 4, the root's on top. And of course, just the notes are higher. So I'm not going to do a whole nother lesson for that, but I do want you to experiment using strings 3 and 4 also, because there are going to be times when we're going to want to use 3 and 4. Okay, so that's it for the speed progressions. Like I said, start working on, you could even take this lick we just did, start adding to it, run into another speed progression. All right, run it into 101. All right. So like I said, next time we're going to check out major connections and start really blending some of this stuff together. If you've made it this far, heck yeah, we're going to really open up this fretboard and have a lot of fun next time. See you later.